He was the best player at the World Cup. Not one of the best, the best. Goals, highlights, global fame. He outshined legends, dominated defenders, and carried a nation on his back. And then, he disappeared. No major injury, no huge scandal. Just gone. So what really happened to James Rodriguez? Before the fame, before the goals, before the world chanted his name, James Rodriguez was just another talented kid from Colombia. A country obsessed with football, a country that had seen stars before but never quite sustained global dominance. James wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy in personality, but on the pitch, he saw things others didn't. Angles, spaces, timing. He played like someone who already knew what would happen next. And yet, before 2014, he wasn't that guy. He wasn't in the Ballon d'Or conversations. He wasn't dominating headlines in England or Spain. He was playing for Monaco, respected but not feared. And if you asked most football fans in the US or UK back then, they might have said, "Yeah, I think I've heard of him." But everything was about to change. 2014 FIFA World Cup, the biggest football event on the planet, where careers are made and sometimes illusions are created. Colombia entered the tournament without huge expectations. No one really predicted they'd go far. And without their star striker Falcao, they were supposed to struggle. But football doesn't follow scripts. And then something unexpected happened. Game 1. James scores, clean, composed, confident. Game 2. Another goal. Now people start paying attention. Commentators begin mentioning his name more often. Keep an eye on this kid. Game 3. He doesn't just score, he controls the game. Suddenly, he's not just a player, he's becoming the player. But here's where it gets crazy. He was only getting started. Colombia versus Uruguay, knockout stage, everything on the line. The ball drops from the sky. For a split second, time slows down. James positions himself, chest control. Perfect. The ball floats just enough. And then, boom! A volley so clean, so precise, it feels unreal. Top corner. No chance for the goalkeeper. Stadium erupts. Commentators lose their minds. That goal wasn't just a goal, it was a statement. This changed everything. Overnight, James Rodriguez became a global superstar. From that moment on, every touch mattered. Every move was watched. Fans weren't just supporting Colombia anymore, they were watching James. By the end of the tournament, he had 6 goals, more than anyone else. Golden Boot winner. At just 23 years old. Think about that. At 23, he was the most dangerous player in the biggest tournament on earth. And now, the biggest clubs were watching. It didn't take long. One move changed his life forever. Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world. Galacticos, pressure, spotlight. This is where legends are made, or broken. At first, it felt like destiny. James arrived to massive hype. Fans filled the stadium just to see him present it. Millions watched online. The expectation? Simple. Be the next superstar. And for a moment, it looked like he would be. First season? Brilliant. Goals, assists, vision. He linked up perfectly with players like Cristiano Ronaldo. Everything clicked. He wasn't just surviving at Real Madrid, he was thriving. And for a moment, it felt like the World Cup wasn't a fluke. It felt like the beginning of an era. But football is never that simple. But here's where things start to shift. Football isn't just about talent. It's about systems, managers, philosophies, and timing. Because just when James was settling in, everything changed. Zinedine Zidane, one of the greatest players ever, now the manager of Real Madrid. Different vision, different priorities. Zidane wanted balance, defensive structure, work rate off the ball. James? He was an artist, a creator, a player who needed freedom. And slowly, you start to notice something. he's not starting games anymore. Then, he's not even coming on. And then something unexpected happened. He became invisible. Imagine this. One year, you're the most exciting player in world football. The next, you're watching from the sidelines. No rhythm, no consistency. Confidence begins to drop. Fans start asking questions. Why isn't he playing? Is he injured? Did something happen? But the truth was more subtle. He didn't fit. And in modern football, that's everything. James leaves, first to Bayern Munich, then later to Everton. Each move comes with hope. Maybe this is where he gets back to his best. And sometimes you see flashes, a brilliant pass, a stunning goal, a reminder of who he used to be. But it never lasts, never consistent, never dominant. So what really happened? Was it bad luck, bad decisions, or something deeper? Here's the truth most people miss. Football changed. The game became faster, more intense, more physical. Midfielders now had to press, track back, defend aggressively. The classic number 10, the luxury playmaker, started disappearing. And James, you say? He was one of them. At the World Cup, he had freedom, space, confidence. The entire system was built around him. At Real Madrid, though, he was just one piece, and not always the most important one. This changed everything, because talent alone wasn't enough anymore. Adaptation was. And not every player can adapt. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The World Cup can lie. It can make a player look unstoppable, even if that level isn't sustainable. Because it's short, intense, emotional, perfect conditions, and sometimes everything just clicks. But club football is a different story. Long seasons, tactical discipline, consistency, and that's where the gap shows. Today, when people talk about James Rodriguez, they don't talk about a decade of dominance. They talk about moments, that goal, that run, that tournament. And the question always comes back, what if? What if he had the right manager? What if the game didn't evolve? What if everything aligned just a little longer? Because here's the truth, James Rodriguez didn't completely disappear. He just never reached that level again. And when you peak that high, anything less feels like vanishing. That's the curse of the World Cup. It can make you immortal and invisible at the same time. Because in football, some stars don't fade slowly. They explode into the world and leave just as quickly. If this story surprised you, hit like, subscribe for more powerful football documentaries, and tell me in the comments, which World Cup star do you think disappeared too soon?